my pleasure to moderate this panel this evening. I know that from previous conferences, the panel is something that a lot of people look forward to. They've been incubating questions and concerns within themselves based on what they've heard during the day or they may have brought to the conference. And so it's really a good opportunity, given the guests that we have, to have them addressed or at least discussed. So I, for one, I'm really looking forward to this panel, and I can't believe, as my brother Douglas keeps asking, how did you get up there? I can't believe my luck to be on the left wing of this. As I said to Uncle Krishnan, I'm just a bus driver here, so I think, and he volunteered to be my conductor. So we're in for a good ride, I hope, a good, happy ride, not so bumpy, some beautiful scenery going through the New Zealand countryside. I don't think I need to introduce the panelists. You've seen them on stage today, all of them actually, except for Uncle Guna, who's there on the end, on the right side of Brother Ashok, and Shruti as well, who's joining us, and you'll hear a little bit more from Shruti tomorrow. So are you ready, panel? Are you ready? Right, that's what I like to say. All right, Prof, you've got the mic, so I hope you know what that means. Yeah. Well, we've talked a little bit about Swami's physical form and the lessons that some of us have learned at his Divine Lotus feet through observing him moving about amongst us. But what about people who've never had that privilege? Perhaps they have known about Swami, but during their own lifetimes missed the opportunity to see him physically. Here we are in New Zealand, a long, long way away from Shantiniliam. That's the other issue, the issue of distance, not just the physical form. How then do we inspire Sai devotees, people who know about Swami? I use that word guardedly, Sai devotees, after what I've heard today. People who know about Swami, how do we inspire in them a greater love, a greater appreciation for who Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai Baba is? People who may have never seen him or who have never actually experienced the proximity of the physical form. Prof, as I said, you've got the mic in your hand, so that means you're number one batsman. Would you like to start us off?
Om Sri Sai Ram. It's a very nice question because ever since Bhagavan laid down his mortal coil, there is a great vacuum all around, all over the world. And many people are a bit dejected, or maybe they think that they are missing Swami. What we do in Prashantanalayam, though I live there right in Prashantanalayam, and we miss him more than anybody else, actually speaking, because we lived in his proximity for almost 3.5 decades, every day seeing him. But still what we do is, we'll go to Mandir, we feel his presence a lot because of our proximity. But other people, he is very much available actually in various forms. In the sense, we tune all those channels where Swami's darshan is relayed. You can see him very live on the screen every day. The only thing is you should have the desire to see him. Darshan is shown, Swami materializing vibhuti, Swami interacting with people, Swami's sports programs on the screen of the university, Radio Sai programs, so many programs, so many DVDs, so many things are around. You can see him live actually sitting there and feel his presence even today. The only thing is we should have the mind to tune and then put yourselves there. We do it. In fact, in our university, regularly we show all those DVDs and programs to our students because the new entrants, many of the students, they never saw Swami. So they feel that they're missing something very interesting. To see to it that his glory is presented to them, every day we make it a point. In the hostel, in the university, wherever it is possible, even in Mandir, through various programs, whenever there is a Sivaratri program, even the Dasara program, discourses, convocation, Swami, as if he were very much there. We make it presented to all the people to watch, they see him very much there and they feel his grace, his glorious face, his miracles being performed, whatever is being recorded, all those things are available right now. Because we love him, I think we can also see him, and we should at least watch those at least every day for half an hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Every day if we cultivate that habit, either before going to bed or early morning when you get up, Suprabhatam and all that, when you play, you get certainly inspired and you will feel definitely Swami with you, I think.
Digital technology really is quite a gift, isn't it? And a shout out at this point to our brothers and sisters in Radio Sai who do a fantastic job of bringing Swami and his discourses, his message to us all over the world. Brother Ashok, you happen to have the mic in your hand again, so you're number 2 batsman. Professor Glendowie Shastri just said, it's all there, we just need to tune our mind. Any suggestions, practical tips perhaps, on how we might be able to tune our minds to the presence of Swami?
You know, when Swami left the physical form, it was very, very difficult. And then someone gave a talk in Dhammashetra, and he said, when Swami left the physical body, he freed you from the illusion that Satya Sai Baba is this 5 foot 1 inch man with an orange robe and big hair. And it was that explanation which helped me to come to terms with Swami leaving the physical form. And I realized when I heard that my interaction with Swami would have to be by seeking him within me and by seeking him everywhere around me. And that's the path my sadhana took, to yearn for him in my prayer in the morning and to yearn that he shows himself. And I think that realization that I was only going to experience him if I yearned for him within me, that worked. And I think he did reveal himself to me. And now is that stage where I said earlier that I know he would want me to see him everywhere. And that's what you're working on, and praying for his grace that he reveals himself. So I think it's actually, we don't really need any strategy. I think we just need to yearn for him to reveal himself. In your morning prayer, call out to him. And, I would have thought he's more anxious to reach us than we are to reach him. So we just have to reach out to him and he'll come running. And, he made that promise, you take 1 step towards me, I'll take 100 towards you. So take him up on that. In the morning, say your prayer, ask him to reveal himself. At night, before you sleep, recite his name. Make him present in your life, and I think he will reveal himself to you. But you don't have to try too hard, because he's there. He wants to reach out to you. So I don't think we have to try that hard, just be sincere.
Evokes this wonderful image that Professor Glendowie Shastri put in my head earlier today, of Swami walking across hot sands in bare feet just to come to us, just simply because we yearn for him. Shruti, the world that you occupy is quite different from the 2 gentlemen who've spoken just now. The yearning for Swami in the world that you occupy, in the life that you live, how are you able to develop that yearning?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think my yearning for Swami is not necessarily linked to the world I live in. And I think that might just be his grace. So yes, I have a certain context and work and study, but I think the yearning for Swami just comes from doing his work and doing sadhana, and the more I feel him and connect to him, the more and more that yearning grows. So one practical example, Brother Venkat, you mentioned Love at Work earlier this afternoon, which is a very practical tool that I found to really bring Swami into my day and increase that yearning. So for me, that's taking time every hour to pause and think of Swami. It's taking time every night to reflect on my day. Swami, how did you reveal your presence to me? Swami, how did I connect to you? Swami, when did I get angry? When did I forget you? Swami, how can I be better tomorrow? And I think by incorporating kind of evening reflection a morning prayer, as Brother Ashok said, and then kind of periods throughout my day where I can keep connecting to him. His presence grows and grows in my life, and through that, the yearning continues to grow. I don't know if I've grown the yearning, but I think maybe he gives the yearning as we do more and more sadhana. So that's something I find very useful.
It sounds like you take a step, he takes 100, you take half a step, he takes 200, and away we go on this beautiful divine romance that is the relationship between you and Swami. I'd like to now take the same challenge, but see it through the lens of the SSI International Organization. For members of the SSI International Organization who may be in that boat, who have not seen Swami physically, how may we inspire them to do, as Shruti says, to do Swami's work? Maybe Uncle Krishna, start with you. You've got the mic. Again, this is my work is being done for me by these fantastic bus passengers and my conductor. How can we?
Saram Venkat. When Swami left his physical form, you know, on the Sai website, they always used this, there's a little section at the end which says Swami is in Kodaikanal, or Swami is in Puttaparthi, or Swami is in Vrindavan. Update, all the time. So if you want to go to India, you want to know where Swami is, it always tells you where he is. When he left his physical form, I went there to see what would they say now, and it said, Swami is in your heart. He said, Swami is in your heart. And to me, that was enough. So a lot of people were very emotional in Australia in some of the centers and all that when Swami passed away. So that evening, we had a bhajan, a special bhajan. And then, you know, a lot of tears were flowing and all that sort of thing. So people were very moved to see what is it that we can do to help them. You know, everybody in the organization was thinking, how can we help these folks now? So we told them, whenever you come to the center now, imagine Swami is there with you. You are sitting to him as if he's sitting on the chair, like what Venkat said, you know, he's sitting physically in front of us. When you go home, he's with you. Now when you drive, instead of having a photo there, or you can still have a photo, but if you look up into the sky and say Sai Ram, he's looking at you. And he's providing you with the protection that you need. So when you know he's everywhere, and most importantly in your heart, and Sai devotees relate to that very easily. So from my point of view, Swami has been preparing us for this eventuality for a long time. You know, in other words, trying to get us to move away from the physical form and to be able to understand and absorb his divinity, his love, and build our yearning for that side. And it has come. And a lot of people have now come to that grips now. And they are able now to accept that Swami is everywhere and also within themselves. So that has really helped a lot of the Sai devotees.
Beautiful status update in your heart. Nil, you've travelled all over the world, but mostly in Fiji, Australia and New Zealand, as is your role in this SSI International Organization. What advice would you give to devotees in those countries and beyond on how to be engaged in the organization in the absence of Swami's physical form?
Sairam, first the form, then the formless. This is Swami's advice to us. First the form, and then the formless. So, for me, this is a natural progression. To think of Swami, think of him as the all-pervading divinity. This is the progress I'm trying to make in my own mind and my own approach to this matter. And as Swami said, I am the totality, all of it. There is no thing which I am not. Nowhere I do not know the way. Now, Baba said that he resides in the heart of everyone in the form of the five values. And when you see them being practiced and hear them being spoken of, they will be automatically drawn out. So God is love. And when love emerges from another person, I accept that that is Baba revealing himself to me. And I find that very, very rewarding, personally. in my spiritual approach that if I could just, and he said, I am watching you through the eyes of everyone you meet. See me in the eyes of everyone you meet. So, to me, this natural progression from form to formless is very valuable on the spiritual path. Did I miss the form? Do I lament that I wasn't spending more of my time there before he passed? Absolutely. Absolutely. But in another way, since his passing, I've found it that I'm able to focus on seeing him everywhere with more ease than I did before. And so that's very helpful. I know a number of people coming to the organisation have said that they were drawn principally by his teachings. That really, the truth they saw in his teachings revealed to them that this was the avatar. And I've found that, if I could just tell one quick incident, I don't know if I've...
Yes, please.
Years ago when I was Mayor of Kiama, this is the power of Swami's words, revealing his divinity through his words. I spoke at the opening of a Benedictine monastery in our district. And there was Mother Benedicta and myself as Mayor and the Bishop of our region. And I had searched for something that I thought might be appropriate in Swami's teachings that I could quote. And so Mother Benedicta spoke and explaining a contemplative life in modern society, trying to explain what they were doing. And then it was my chance to speak, and I went through the preliminaries and etc., etc. And I got to the point of saying that the words I'm about to read are of an Easterner speaking to a group of Westerners. And I read out this quote. It was very empowering. I don't have it in my mind right at the moment, but it finished, if stillness is in your nature, dare to be so. In other words, it took great strength to live a contemplative life. It was a very powerful, I'll have to get it, I'll have to source it again, because in that circumstance it was appropriate. 1,500 people there from Benedictine monasteries from around the world. They burst into spontaneous applause, and it was prolonged and loud. Prolonged, it didn't stop. And I looked down and all the nuns were weeping in joy. It was an empowerment of their way of life. But look at the power of those words. And I finished my talk pretty quick because I couldn't follow up with much better than that. And the poor bishop had to follow, and it was a pretty tough act. But to this day, whenever I call at the monastery, they come running. And by the way, they asked for those words, and it went in a publication that went around the world to all the Benedictine monasteries and had from the writings of Sri Satya Sai Baba, and they got the quote. So look at the power of his words. This is fantastic. And I think in his words he reveals his divinity continuously. And that is, to me, speaks well for the future of this organisation and the flow of new members.
Beautiful. The Word was God, and the Word of God outlives his physical frame. From what I've been hearing so far in the panel, it's been a very, very interesting discussion. The sense I'm getting is that he is in our hearts. He is that inexhaustible source of energy, of inspiration, of guidance that resides right within us. Now, Uncle Guna, my next question is to you. Ever since I've known you, you've been a very, very energetic young man. always involved. Yeah, that's right, there's a few people, some of your fans are in the audience, that's amazing.
Thanks, sir.
You've been a very energetic young man, always doing Satyasai International Organization activities. From as long as I've known him, I'm sure beyond that as well. The question that people sometimes have is, we have this great source of energy within ourselves. We have the teachings of Swami, yet doing work in the organization can burn us out. It's exhausting. There is this disconnect, this incongruity between this infinite source that's within us and the sense that we're unable to tap into it, leading to burnout and rusting and breakdown of the machine. Can you share some thoughts on how we all can remain a little bit young like you, doing organization work and tapping into that source of energy?
Thanks, I got a little bit more hair than you right now. Loving Sarah, brothers and sisters. Before I address this question, can I just answer the first question that Brother Venkat asked? For those who have not visually seen Swami presence, how do we connect to them? For some of us, we are very blessed. And I think my eminent brothers here touched on it beautifully. Each of them very in their own ways. I just want to share, I've been quite lucky. Since 1990, I've been seeing Swami regularly. For those who have not seen, and for the younger generations who are going to miss out, let's ask this question. How did the glory of Rama, the glory of Krishna, the glory of Jesus, the glory of Buddha survived thousands of years? 10,000, 5,000, 3,000, 2,000 years.
And no internet. No internet. There was no internet.
No internet. Yeah. It survived, and the glory has been celebrated throughout the world. It's only through the scriptures. And if we today enjoy listening to the glories of Rama, Krishna, and the great saints, it's because the scriptures has kept it alive. Today, and we are so blessed, as Venkat and some others pointed out, the radio side is the greatest, for me, the greatest legacy of a Bhagavan has left for posterity. My connection, and this is my sharing with all my brothers and sisters who missed out on the physical form of Swami. By listening to radio side, any of the audios or the visuals that you see, for me personally, I have a connection with Bhagavan. Because it is, for me, I feel very blessed to have people like Ganga Shastri Garu and the staff, the people who stayed with Swami, the students. Today, they are the legacy, because when they speak, to me, it's Bhagavan speaking to us. And I think Brother Nabil and Brother Ashok pointed out, it is his message. What he gave us, that is the perennial Swami that's going to be with us.
About how do you stay young and connect to that infinite source in terms of SSIOZ.
Thanks to the past 3 presidents and notably Doug Sanders, I've lost all that. However, dear sisters, I come from Malaysia, and that much the distaste of Doug. My mentor is President Jagadish, and some of you might know him. And if I talk and behave like him, that's because of his influence in my life. Right? So I take after him. I was inspired by him. So when I came here, by Swami's grace and by the grace of the council, the past 3 council presidents, was given the opportunity to do my bit here. And I had the support of my wonderful brothers and sisters in the small city of Glendowie, who believed in me, and whatever small ideas I came up, we did what we could. To me, anything that comes to me, either from Doug, Murali, or anybody from the council, comes and says, brother, can you take up this responsibility? To me, it is Swami is asking me, Bangar, can you do this for me? I've asked this question today. We put Swami's chair here. We place the flowers there. Every devotional singing on Thursday, we have Swami's picture there. Let's touch our heart and ask in all honesty, how many of us 100% believe Swami is seated there? If Swami is seated there, would we come in after the bhajan starts? If Swami is actually there, and Swami says, when my glorious son, I am present, then would you come in after Swami is seated? We never do that in the Prashanti. We never do that in Cycle 1, but we do it in our own sentence. We have a conference under the name of our Bhagavan, our beloved Lord. Swami, through his instruments, is giving us in Bengalu. We are having an assembly of people speaking about my glory for 2 days. Can you make some time to come? Because I will be there. I will be there. Can't we give the 2 days out of the 365, not 300, 700 and almost 750 days, 2 years once? We can't. I asked this question to some of my brothers. If there's a wedding that we have, somebody's wedding, we'll give them priority. He says, sorry for that, I can't come for side function because I have this wedding. Because why? It's an obligation. Swami, who's a perennial obligation. I leave these thoughts with you all. We are grateful to Swami for what that he has given all of us, for the blessings that we have received. What can we give back to Bhagavan?
Beautiful.
I'll leave this question with you. Thank you. Sarah.
Thank you. Well, that's a few clues there on how you remain young. You mentioned, you mentioned having role models and just basically saying yes and imagining that Swami is the one asking us to do these things. That's how we tap into that infinite source of energy. Any experiences or suggestions from you on how you've been able to do that? Because you're another dynamo.
Yeah, so just to clarify how we can really tap into the source and the energy.
Yes, without feeling burnt out and exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, from a very practical perspective, I think one thing Swami emphasizes is time management. He says time is very precious, time waste is life waste, and I've actually found the periods where I'm most busy, when I have school, when I've had school and sports and music and side commitments, actually there's no time to go on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, and I'm not on my phone because I'm utilizing every moment. And I think Swami has given us so much time. If you look at from morning to night, the number of hours and minutes and seconds, it's there. And if we're able to utilize it effectively, actually I think all of us can probably, I mean, I don't want to assume everyone's got different circumstances, but at least in my case, there's a lot of time to take on leadership in the organization, to do your work, to be there for your family, to take care of your health, and to still sleep 7-8 hours a night if you need that. And some people can go with much less. So I think time management is one very practical tool that Swami has given us. I think the other thing as well is really knowing why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that purpose is really what motivates me. When I look at Swami's work, I mean, of course, we know the real purpose is our own transformation. It's quite a hard concept to grasp for many of us, and I know as a youth, I didn't really say I'm coming to youth group because I want to get self-realized. I still don't know what that even means, to be completely honest. But I'm with good people, and I'm feeling good. When I do service, again, it's a joyous experience. When I sing bhajans, I mean, the experience of singing bhajans is much more beautiful for me than necessarily watching a movie. So it's a beautiful thing that makes me feel good, that connects me with good people from whom I learn. We were at a satsang with the ladies in Mount Eden last week, and it was, from myself to 60, 70-year-olds in our center, just sharing very real experiences of our own sadhana and struggles, and I was learning so much. So I think knowing why we do what we do, and whether that's your love for Swami, whether it's simply the practical benefits of becoming a better person, and understanding his teachings through good company and sacred spaces, I think that's an incredible motivation. And when you experience it, where else do I want to be? Your friends might think it's a bit weird at some point, come out, do this, why do you spend all this time working in the organization? But I think the friends that are most closest to me love it and really see the effect it has. I really want to get involved and support it as well. So I think it's just, sorry, one last thing, I know I'm rambling, but I was having this conversation with a young adult last week about how we do more of Swami's work and get energy for it. And you were saying, Uncle, about Rama and Krishna being these great avatars. And I've been reading the Ramakatha Rasavani this year, and it's amazing to think about Rama as in probably the shrines of every Hindu household. It's a name that people all around the world know, Krishna, regardless of your faith, And if Krishna came and asked you, do you want to serve me? Maybe, of course, this is Krishna. Rama said, do you want to be a part of my mission? Hanuman, of course. And we are like Swami's Hanumans, you know, and the fact that an avatar has given us the opportunity to be a part of it, I cannot even comprehend, like physically comprehend what that even means. But I think that kind of perspective, it's like, how could I be doing anything but Swami's work? Whether that be through the organization or bringing Swami into my work or my family or my day-to-day life. And I think keeping that perspective of what Swami's given us, I mean, it's what else are we going to be doing on a Saturday night, you know? So.
This is the hardest ticket in town. To convince me, I flew 3 hours to get here for this gig. Thank you for those thoughts. Shruti, just before I come back to Professor Glendowie Shastri, just wanted to plant a seed in your mind about self-care. What role does self-care have? And I'll perhaps come back to you after I hear from Professor Glendowie Shastri. Prof, it was your mention of rest is rust that actually instigated this question from one of our audience members. If you could also share, how do you tap into that infinite source of energy without feeling burnt out by it?
Sairam, as Bhagavan very frequently mentioned, in almost all his discourses always he said, change of work is rest, he said. Change of work is rest. So, you are working on a particular theme and you are tired, immediately shift to some other work, relax there, change to something else, relax there again after some time. Keep on changing from one work to the other. For example, I still remember when I was preparing for my exams, for my master's degree, I used to read extensively, so I was reading till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock the subject, and you get actually great fatigue. You are tired of reading the subject till 12 o'clock. Then you take a magazine, Illustrated Weekly or Reader's Digest or something else, and read it for half an hour on a different topic completely. And then come back again to your book and continue to read it. So you feel actually a bit relaxed. And Bhagavan Baba would ask boys, you finish your school work, then go to the garden, water the plants, do something in the garden for half an hour, 40 minutes or 1 hour, then come back again and start reading. Go there, play for half an hour, again come back. But you never say that you are so tired that you want to stop working. It is not that. You can continue to work and work and work till you go to bed. But the only thing is methods are to be devised. That's what Swami meant by saying change of work. So from one work to the other work, you should keep on changing. One thing. Second very interesting thing is why Swami said, rest is rust. Because there is a proverb in English. Idle man's brain is a devil's workshop. That is the worst thing that should never be allowed, especially with youngsters. Young minds are very active and you have to utilize the energies which are always there in the young brain. So Swami personally designed the schedule of the university. The university schedule, the school schedule, mandir schedule, everything is designed by Swami. People used to think that Swami was resting after bhajan. Once he retires after taking arati, he goes inside and takes rest. One day Swami in fact asked us, what do you think I do sitting inside? I said, how do we know Swami? Because you don't have access to mention. Then he immediately said, you know what I do? He does such many things. Dasara time he was distributing lot of silk sarees to lot of devotee women. And he would order silk sarees himself. And when he gets the bundles, he picks up the saree, looks at the quality of it, the color of it, the design of it, the price of it, everything. Picks up saree by saree, sits inside, carrying all the bundles by his side. Then takes a saree, looks at it, and immediately thinks of a lady devotee. The suits are perfect with this color. So he writes a slip, puts it in the saree folder, and and keeps it there. Like that, sari by sari, he was there to arrange in order, and he would call them in the evening into the bhajan hall, and he would ask some of our teachers or students to bring the bundles. One after another, he goes on distributing. I was always wondering, God, where do you find time to fix a sari, select a sari for a devotee? Write on a slip, put it there, and then bring it and find out that lady and give it to her. A God who is conducting the entire universe in a ceaseless manner, and he finds time to write a slip and put in the folder of a sari. How do you say that you don't have time? So, probably I feel that it is exactly your attitude that is to be changed. There is something wrong with us. So let it not go. It's very important. Secondly, Shruti, I think just mentioned about time. And Swami repeatedly, millions and millions of times, Swami said one thing. Never forget this. There are God is worshipped by several names, and some of the names are Kalaya Namaha, Kalakalaya Namaha, Kalapitaya Namaha, Kalaswarupaya Namaha. Time is God. You can't play with time. You cannot waste any time like that. The more and more you put to use time, your life is significant. It is time only. God is measured in terms of time. When a sannyasi, a great realized yogi, was asked, so how do you live? What is the speciality? What are you all doing in this life? He said a simple answer. We do nothing. In the process of time we appear, in the process of time we disappear. It is a time. You are nothing but a part of time. Time is running out. Swami was always telling us, time is running out fast. Now intensify your activity, spiritual activity. Utilize every second of the time, because it is time which is going to decide your future. That is it is actually in that context Swami said, resting is a must. Resting means wasting time. Yes. You don't waste your time at all. Not only time, Swami said that don't waste time, don't waste water, don't waste food, don't waste resources. We have no right to waste anything in this world, because extraordinarily precious things that are given to us as wonderful free gifts by God. So we have no business to waste. And at the same time, many people are suffering because they don't have water over here, can't have simple waste water. Swami used to say, he doesn't waste. I was talking to somebody this afternoon and said that he materialized vibhuti in the interview room, and when he wanted to pack it or give it, he used to collect the cover, remove the letter from the cover, keep it aside, tear the cover and take a small piece, pack vibhuti in that, give it to the devotee, keep the second part of the cover there, and he would say, the second part I will use for another devotee. He won't even use it, throw a piece of paper out. So, when he came out of interview room to give darshan, he made it very clear that he puts up the fan and the light in the interview room. He puts it off, he comes out. Here's darshan, brings all the devotees, he puts all of them. Before calling them inside, he goes inside, puts on the light, puts on the fan, then he calls them inside. And he says, when I go out, I put on the fan and light myself. I don't want to waste power myself. So that is the way we need to look at things. Thank you.
This is really a manifestation of Swami in the form of time, because our time has run out. Unfortunately, I could be here and I would love to be here all evening. Shruti, unfortunately, we won't have time to come back to the issue of self-care, and it is something that I would like to explore with you if we get the opportunity in another panel. Speaking of which, you will have the blessing of listening to these great insights again in another panel tomorrow before the conference ends. So please join with me in thanking all the panelists, Sister Shruti, Uncle Guna, Brother Shor, Uncle Neville, Professor Glendowie, and Uncle Krishnan. Thank you very much. Om Shri Sai Ram.